However, we also need to define what we're talking about when we use the word true. How are we defining the word true? And what I want to do this evening is I want to go through a couple of definitions that we would use in order to define how we would use that word and break it apart to instill confidence in us when we talk about the Bible, when we look at the Bible, when we're either doing daily devotions or we're doing study or even just investigating the Bible, if it's not something that you necessarily do. And those three definitions that I'm going to be working with are in accordance with fact and or reality, communicating accurately, and conveying honestly. In other words, I want to answer the question, is this book trustworthy as history? And so that's really what we're going to focus on with this first point. When I say in accordance with fact and or reality, what I'm talking about is, can we look at some of the things that we read about in the Bible and actually say this is talking about real places and real times and real people? And one of the ways we can do that is by going to the text itself and seeing how some of the biblical authors describe what they're doing to begin with. Luke, one of the gospel authors, wrote a biography of Jesus that we refer to as the Gospel of Luke. And in it, he outlines his purpose statement right at the beginning. He says, "Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. With this in mind, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, I too decided to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things you have been taught." And Luke uses a word there that we translate as account or narrative to describe his book. This is a word that other ancient Greco-Roman historians use, other writers, to describe how they themselves write history. In fact, there are two very important ancient historians, Josephus and Lucian, who use this word to describe how they should write proper historical documents. Specifically, Lucian in his book, How to Write History. And other gospel writers and other biblical writers go to lengths to communicate the historical veracity of the documents that they're writing.